I wanted to make a quick video talking about the disgrace that the last two games have been for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And I think the word is perfect that Hugo Lloris used in his post-match interview after the Europa League game. It was a disgrace, the performance during the North London derby. And it was a disgrace yet again in the Europa League game where it's do or die. You'd have to consider what is going on behind the scenes. And obviously, Lloris is alluding to some issues, maybe some divisions amongst the players, but also a question of character. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that character and the kind of leadership that I'm hoping to see from Spurs, or that they can find within themselves. And then I also want to talk about some of the other issues that I see as potential problems coming up. And then I want to talk about our identity as a football club, because I think that's what's at stake. So let me just show you this really quickly here. This is something that I use in my work world. When we're looking for leaders, we're looking for people to lead others. And so if you have high character and low competency, you have a lot of good character, but you're not able to do the job very well, we would say you have a limited potential for leadership, right? People will understand your heart, but your competency, your ability to get the job done limits your potential to lead others in doing the job. And same with low competency or low character. If you don't have the ability to do it, and you don't even have the character, you have a relevant potential for leadership. And you could probably think of different players you might put in these 4 different quadrants. Maybe you have a player that has irrelevant potential for leadership, or maybe limited potential for leadership. And I'd be interested to hear who you would put in which category. But then I think on this other side of this kind of matrix here, this is the issue at Spurs. I think we actually have a very, very competent squad with low character. And not everybody, but I think that there are a lot of players, and this is what I kind of see in reading between the lines of what Hugo Lloris is saying, that there are people that are competent, but their character is low, and so they have a dangerous potential for leadership. If those people start to have louder and louder voices, it's dangerous to what you're hoping to achieve as an organization. And then obviously, if you have people that have high character and high competency, they have incredible potential for leadership, but it's still potential. They have to actualize that potential. And I'm going to, kind of focus a little bit on Harry Kane here, because the guy obviously has great character. The things that he does in terms of training, the way that he's not, messing around outside of training. He cares about the community in seeing what he did in sponsoring Leyton Orient and things like that. So the guy has high character and he has high competency. He's one of the best strikers in the world, arguably the best striker in the world this year. Could be player of the year. But he hasn't taken that potential of using his voice. I don't see it on the field. I don't see it in the post-match interviews. He leads by example, but that voice, that commanding presence doesn't seem to be there at times. Same with Hugo Lloris. I would put him in that category as well. He seems to have a lot of character. He has a lot of competency. He's a World Cup winner, captain of a World Cup winning side. But his leadership, I don't know if it's because of his position. He's as a goalkeeper, he's just not able to have that commanding presence like, say, maybe a Harry Kane could or a Pierre-Emile Højbjerg could. But it's an issue. They have not actualized that potential. And now, you look at the dangerous potential for leadership, and I think this is the biggest issue for Spurs. I'm really concerned about this Welsh mafia and French mafia thing that's going on. I have a feeling, I could be completely wrong about this, but there are some factions within this squad as represented by these kind of joking mafias, right? So part of me thinks that this could be a huge issue when you think about the players that are playing and not playing from those little, trios of players. It's really upsetting to think that, man, if these guys are having louder and louder voices in the locker room, and you start to see like Lucas wants to be part of that Welsh one, and Sonny is already in on it. It's crazy for me to think about this, but like, could this actually be a joke of what's actually happening in the locker room? And if it is, who's going to have that incredible potential for leadership to shut that all down? Like, there's a part of me that doesn't want to see the celebration of the W and the M. I don't want to see that anymore. Lucas with his big fat L, fine. Lucas Moura seems to be, just here, a great squad player, here to help the team out in whatever way he can. He has, I think, incredible character. His competency is not as high as maybe it could be, and therefore he's in that limited potential category. So I want to hear what your thoughts are in terms of that kind of a framework of looking at the squad and who could be the leader that takes us or carries us through to whatever the next chapter of Spurs is. Now, you could look at Jose and say, what is Jose as well as a leader? You could think about that for Ledley King, right? There's all sorts of things that you could look at, from players to coaches to Daniel Levy, the board itself. Now, I also want to talk about another issue that I think is the problem at Spurs. And part of that is that we have these homegrown players, and they're kind of just mediocre. They're not able to really influence the game much more than, say, Harry Kane. You've got Harry Winks, you've got Eric Dyer, you've got Dele Alli. And those three players are questionable. I don't always trust them. It's not like a Harry Kane where I would say, you got to start him every game. And I know when he's injured, he still plays. I don't really like that. But the rest of those guys are they're struggling. And we have to keep these English players to keep our homegrown quotas, right? So what do we do with those players, and how do we, bring in guys like Skippy, Ryan Sessegnon, Tanganga, bringing him up through the ranks, and hopefully being able to replace some of that homegrown talent, to be able to sell some of it as well, because I've seen other people talk about dead wood, and I don't think these guys are lacking in terms of competency. Although you could say that Eric Dyer is struggling at the center back role, and Harry Winks is just not a top 4 Champions League player. He's more like a top 6, maybe high mid-table player. So I think that's part of the issue too. And then I think the other issue is this: what are you playing for? Or who are you playing for? You might have some players that are playing for their next contract. And I'm just using this picture as an example. I'm not saying Tanguy Ndombele is playing for that. But I do think that some players are playing for the money. They're playing for the contract. They're not playing for, maybe, say, the cup. Like they don't really care if they have trophies or win silverware. They're just there to kind of do their job. They just do their 9 to 5 and they head out at 5 o'clock. And, there's people like this in everyday life. And cool, that's fine. But if your ambitions don't match the club's ambitions, what are we doing here? What are you doing here? Now, so you've got people that are playing for contracts. You've got people that are playing for trophies. And then you have others that I think are understandably and rightfully so playing for the badge. And these are the ones that I think it's like Harry Kane. Harry Kane doesn't care about the money so much. He doesn't even, I don't want to say he doesn't care about the trophies. He does care about the trophies. He wants to win the trophies, but he wants to win those trophies for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. And that's why I love him. I love him to death. Like, I want Harry Kane to win here because I know how much it will mean to him. And it would be an awesome reward for someone having the character to stay at their local club and winning with their local club. I would love that for him, and I would love that for Spurs. And then lastly, I think there are people that play for the fans. And again, I'm just using Harry Kane as a picture and the fans in the background. I'm not saying this is who Harry Kane is, because I actually don't think that Harry Kane plays for the fans. I think he plays for the badge. I think he plays for the club. But I do think that there are some players that play for the fans. They play for, those little tricks and amazing little, goals, or not little goals, but you know what I'm saying. They're trying to impress whoever. It could be the fans, it could be the manager. They're wanting to play for someone outside of themselves. They don't have that like drive or desire within them. And so I think we could look at our players again and ask, who or what are they playing for? And what do you want Spurs players to be playing for? Do you want them to be playing for the fans? Well, guess what? Fans are not in the stands, right? It's a totally different world right now. So those players that were, loving the roar of the crowd and the oohs and the ahs and the boos even. Like I think of Dele sometimes, and I don't think he's playing for the fans so much, but I do think that that's a huge influence for him. And, I can remember when he scored those goals against Chelsea, and he's just like sitting there with his hand behind his ear, just taking it all in. And I just think, what kind of squad do we want? Who do we want to see playing for our club? Personally, I want people that are playing for the badge, because the fans are fickle. I mean, let's be honest, we're all fickle. And the fans aren't even in the stands right now. So you got to have some serious desire and grit to want to win for that badge. And I didn't see it these last two games. I think that's what pisses me off so much, is that I didn't see it against Arsenal. I didn't see it in the Europa. And it's like, if you're not showing up for those games, what games are you showing up for? Like, who are you playing for? What are you playing for? And it doesn't seem to be the badge. And as much as I love Harry and as much as I love Lloris, and I know it's a team sport, right? So it's not just them, but where is their leadership calling everyone else to account? And we missed Højbjerg playing against Dynamo, or however you say it. I'm so upset right now. Who is on the field that's going to call everyone to something greater than themselves? I don't know. And it looks like Jose is a defeated man. So let's just talk really quickly about Jose and Daniel Levy. Obviously, something's going on. I don't know if I can't imagine there being a rift between Levy and Jose, because Levy wanted Jose so bad. And I think Jose actually wanted this kind of a project, something that he could work on. I don't know if he knew how much of a project this would be, though. It really helps me to appreciate what Mauricio Pochettino did with these players. And I think that goes to what we are as a club, and this is where I want to end the video. We are a club that believes. That's what we are about. To dare is to do. That's our motto. And the club, Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, if they don't believe, if they don't have something to dare for, who are we? Who are we? We're not a type of club that's going to spend millions and millions, $750 million on players. We're just never going to do it, at least not with this ownership. And so you could say, get them out of my club, but I don't know if they're ever going to leave our club. They are our owners right now. So what I want to find is, I want to find a group of players that are going to fight for that badge and are going to dare every time they go out on that pitch. I want Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I want Sonny. I want Sergio Reguilon. I want Harry Kane. I want all of those guys on that pitch, starting 11 every time. Just get us to the end of the season. And if there are younger guys that are willing to give their heart and give their soul for this club, get them on that pitch. It might be a Tanganga. It might be, Dane Scarlett out there instead of Carlos Vinicius. Maybe that's why Vinicius isn't playing. I don't know what it is, but we need something different. We need our heart back. We need our belief back, because that's who we are as a club. And Hugo said it. He knows every year we have this hope. Every year we have this belief that something is going to change, that something is going to be different. We're going to ascend to the heights that we believe that we can ascend to. And so I want to find those players, and I want to put them on the field and say, I trust them. And even if they put in a poor performance, maybe the competency isn't there, the character is always there. That's what I want for our club. So what do you want? You tell me in the comments down below. What do you think about who our leaders are? Who can we trust to take us into this last little push of the season in hopes of getting maybe Europa? By some sort of miracle, we could get Champions League and potentially beat Manchester City. Because all I want on the field against Manchester City are players that want it. Not players that are playing for a contract. I want players that are going to play for the badge. And even if we get roasted and we lose 4-1, if everything was left out on the field, just like Dynamo was playing against us, if everything was left out on the field, I don't care if we lose. I just want to see that heart, and I just want to see that belief.